May the 4th, 2020.
Full internet. We see one push has 1,100 2-bedroom flat.
I know I've gone on about this a lot, but it is worth mentioning again. I started my day today. It's rather a nice day. Watering the garden and talking to my daughter on the iPad, and you know, being able to spend time being with her, seeing her, and spending proper quality time, not like old-fashioned kind of linear phone calls. It's made this last 15 days of complete separation from her so much more easy to handle. I've always got that time of the day where I'm thinking, oh well, she'll be in my life in as close to reality as is humanly possible at this point in time. For a couple of hours later today, there's always that focus, because to begin with, when I realised, you know, when my ex-partner told me there are 5 people where I work tested positive, I thought, well, that's it for the time being. You know, it was a dark and difficult moment, but we've got so much to be grateful for. There are a hell of a lot of naysayers out there who will look at modern technology as being nothing but a dark intrusion on life. But I'm sure a lot of you will agree with this, especially at this point in time. I see it completely differently, and I have so much gratitude for being able to, well, just even this vlog over the last 2 months now, this being a focus of my day and wondering what sort of sites I can share and trying to wring the positivity out of a very dark time. You know, it's done me the world of good. And you know, as I've said before, I hope, you know, my ego is fragile. It's nice to know. I hope you're getting as much out of this daily focus as I am. You know, I'm not going to apologise for being fragile. I am. I've had a terrible time in my life, and a little bit of encouragement goes a long way. You know, just remember that in general for other people, that we all know I'm a work in progress, and so are you. Just thinking to myself how much I was dreaming of moving back to this area just over a year ago, and the first time I actually pulled up on this road to look at the house that I now live in. It's amazing, all of the familiarity of home with my mum and dad for a couple of months that was a nightmare to me. All of a sudden I thought, God, this isn't quite as cut and dried and as easy as I thought. It's amazing, this road looks so intimidating and alien. And somebody just leant out of a van who I know, and she said, all right, you know, for the first time since all of this crap has started in life. And yeah, this place is so much home now. You know, there's no getting away from it. It just is. It's home. And it's quite a marked change to that day. You know, sort of natural misgivings about big moves in life are understandable. But yeah, it is funny how familiar and how homely this place is now. I know there are people amongst your number who've dealt with something which is summed up with the word bullying. It amazes me when you go to any working class arena of employment and just see how much aggression there is, usually displayed very passively towards fellow workers. And I think that we wonder when we have to attend such places on a day-to-day basis if other people feel the same, and it's not really talked about that much, but something which affects so many of us. Now, I'm far from being some angel of light and virtue in any situation, but something occurred last year with a workmate that really made me think. I tried to be upbeat and positive at work, and if I'm not feeling that way, if people are heavy going, you've got to get through the day with them. They're not going to change. They've often been in that job for years. I just fall silent. If I'm chirpy or if I'm talking, you know, things are okay. You know, that's my sort of personal barometer. And work with this one guy, and just get through my day. I'm here to do a job, doesn't bother me. And we got on, we chatted, and I didn't moan. We're all there for the same reason. What's the point in moaning, you know? And he said, God, these days since you've been taken over from that guy have been so much easier having somebody who's just not constantly whinging and moaning. When I think about the time frame of when that particular week of work happened as well, I just had a death in my life extremely close to me, and I still managed to not bring people down with my sinking ship. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't an exercise in self-congratulatory ego. It's just a pure comparison thing. We've all got to get through our days, and some people have a kind of red cloud around them. It's just foul, you know, those people who gaslight and passive aggressively moan about everybody who's not currently their workmate that given day, and they don't credit you with enough intelligence to think, yeah, you sound like you're really siding with me and opening up, but it won't be me that you're working with tomorrow. I wonder who you'll turn your attention to then, you know. And that is a big part of the working class work environment, which is the only work environment I've got any experience of. Those people with the red or maybe a green cloud, a kind of toxic stench of a green cloud is more appropriate, but quibbling over metaphors is a bit silly, really. That's what people have to deal with. We live in a time now where everybody will try and convince you that we're a lot more accepting and a lot more happy clappy in life, but anybody who thinks that does not work hands-on in a predominantly male working class environment. It's a tragedy that when those people come along, you know, you've got to have the dark to see the light. I understand that, and I understand that in human nature, but in working class working environments where it's just the simple truth that in amongst, to say, about 100 people group, there are 3 or 4 who really lighten your day, who are not two-faced, they don't bitch and backbite, you know. It's that's what you're left facing. And there is so much, especially if you're going through any kind of mental health issues, where people will say, no, not everything is like that. Not everybody in the world's like that. And you think, come to a working class working environment. You'll have to deal with it hands-on, in your face, day after day. And, you know, that's the simple truth of it, is that people either sink or swim. And initially people might try and fight the relentless negativity in such workplaces, but eventually a majority of people just get sucked into either silent complacency and probably quite severe depression and anxiety underneath the hood of themselves, the hood of their particular engine, you know. And other people just think, right, well, I better swim with it, and they become as negative and hateful as the people who make them uncomfortable. It's, you know, we're very, what's the word, we're very malice-based creatures that work on an eye for an eye, you know, and as much as that may be a negative, self-destructive thing, work in that environment and you'll understand that sink or swim is something that exists in spade loads in those environments. You know, we want justice, and sometimes just thinking if you can't beat them, join them is your only option. You're often told by good people in those kind of working environments that you've got to develop a thick skin, don't let them get to you. But if you're not that kind of person, if things do get to you, you can't have a lobotomy to become someone else. As I've said many times before recently, one of the worst things you can do to a person in need is offer them your version of how you would deal with it and claim it's a solution for them, because it just isn't going to be that simple. I can't become you, you can't become me. We can only give our own interpretations, but expecting someone else to see our advice as something, well, I told them how to deal with it and they didn't follow my advice. If only things were that simple, we'd all be perfect. It's never going to be the case, but yeah, I see far too many people with absolutely zero experience of male working class environments offering opinions on how much more happy clappy and accepting the world is these days. Within moments of one job I did, and this is time frame really doesn't matter, but it was in a time frame where things would get you into trouble if bosses found out about such things. Start a job, and within the first 20 minutes of meeting my new workmates, I'm hit square between the eyes with complete and utter confidence in them spitting instant dismissal level racism, homophobia, everything under the sun you could imagine. Or you'd be led to believe that if you did or said that kind of thing, there would just be instant dismissals. It's not that simple, you know. You can't walk into a working environment and start throwing your weight around. You know, if people talk about sort of situations like being monitored at work and being filmed and everybody getting paranoid and sort of worried about infringements of liberty. You know, I wish in some cases with jobs that I've done that there had been people, there had been documents of what I've witnessed, because you know how uncomfortable it makes me. Hatred, it does not have to be directed at me personally for me to feel very, very, very uncomfortable. You know, it's not coming from the mouth and the mind of some majorly gifted empath or anything. I just feel very uncomfortable around blindly hateful people. And yeah, there have been times where I've witnessed things you just think, yeah, this is just more he said, she said, you know. But yeah, within starting one job, I'd seen instant dismissal level hatred spat out. What do? Wander around with a GoPro constantly, with a 12-hour or an 8-hour battery at work? Live a life that's as paranoid as that? But that's how bad it is. And I've talked to other people who've been in working class environments where they've said if only, you know, did have that permanent GoPro on your shoulder, you just show what you have to deal with. And you know, I've been lucky with regards to bosses and the like, but they're in an equally difficult position. He said, she said. Until people start routinely documenting with video and audio evidence exactly what people are doing, things will stay the same. There is a complete void in the education of working class people. I know these days education and ignorance are a choice. We've all got Google, we've all got smartphones, we've all got computers, we've all got access to the internet. But it isn't that simple. And any progress that you may be thinking has been made in the world with altering concepts and tolerance, think again. Seriously, think again. You know, I was terribly guilty in the end of the first decade of this century of being a keyboard warrior, of being very confident about sharing very angry and barbed statements about institutions, people, all kinds of things. But I learned my lesson that the online and the offline world have caught up. They're one and the same thing now, and things that you say online have the same ramifications as they do offline. But what was the truth of that? It's very easy to sort of, we'll just lump everybody together and think troll, keyboard warrior, you know, no balls, wouldn't do it in real life. And yeah, I wouldn't have done. But there was a person crying out and saying, I found a medium where I feel kind of safe. It was a very naive attitude towards safety, because my worlds collided. People who knew me saw what I was truly thinking and feeling. My worlds collided. It's one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. But in 2008, people who knew me one way saw me another. The truthful and honest side of me that I was representing here. And my worlds collided, and it wasn't easy. It was a horrible time in my life, but it was a sheep in wolf's clothing, if that's the right way round of putting it. It was a great learning experience. But what's the truth of it is, people sometimes who feel completely and utterly ignored, and to aggressive levels of being ignored, find a voice online. And I certainly did that for a little while. I'm not very proud of it on reflection, but that's the reason I was that way, is that I find the world a very aggressive and opinionated place. And instead of finding my place in it as the person I truly am, the online world gave me an arena where I could pretend I was more confident than I was, because the truth is I am such an easily hurt and sensitive soul. And you know, these days I find no shame in admitting exactly what and who I am. It doesn't bother me in the slightest, but back then it obviously wasn't so easy, and I hadn't found myself to such a large degree. But you know, maybe that gives you some insights into some things about me, the world, and the ways in which people claim it's changed, but maybe it hasn't quite to the extent that we think it has. Anyway, God bless, take it easy.